What's up, everybody? Welcome to Philly with John Marks on PHLY. Good morning to everybody watching live on YouTube, our 8 a.m.ers. All of our Mad Chatters. What's up, everybody? The Sixers made their draft pick last night, and I can't wait to talk about it with everybody this morning. As always, Philly with John Marks, brought to you by betPARX. You can check out the betPARX app right now. A lot of good stuff going on there. All right, so I mean, as I don't think anybody is surprised by any of it, the Sixers drafted VJ Edgecombe last night with the 3rd overall pick. It almost seemed too obvious that that's what they were going to do. Does everybody agree with that? Like, yesterday at the end of the show, I'm like, all right, like, what am I missing here? This is too obvious. I mean, sometimes you just have to say, no, it is obvious, so that's why you do it, and it's the right pick. And I believe that. I do. I like what the 76ers did, but you still were wondering at some point what like Daryl Morey, like Howie Roseman, sometimes he is so good at getting people off of the scent, or you have no idea what they're going to do. And then there's other times where it's like, don't outthink yourself. Don't overthink it. Like, just make the obvious choice. And I think that's what the Sixers did last night, and I like it. I'm not going to lie, though. When Ace Bailey went to the Jazz with pick number 5, I had the Kaiser Soze moment from The Usual Suspects, where he goes from being verbal Kint, where he's a gimp and he's dragging his foot with a limp, to where he is the mastermind, he's the international criminal, and he was right there in the police station and they didn't realize it, right? So I'm like thinking, like, oh my God, the Jazz, they just drafted like Danny Ainge, got us again? This was the plan all along? Are you kidding me? Ace Bailey, they're telling us he only wants to go to the Wizards or East Coast cities and not the Sixers? And all along he wanted to go to Utah? Well, he didn't want to go to Utah. But in the moments after the draft pick, I was like, all right, well, they're going to trade him, right? They're not just going to draft him. He doesn't want to go to Utah. And then I'm like, oh my God, they totally fooled everybody. Like, Danny Ainge and Ace Bailey's agent, they were in cahoots the whole time. Holy crap. We just passed on the next great player in the NBA. So, and then I calmed down when I saw that he didn't want to go to Utah. More on that coming up in a second. Let's talk about VJ Edgecombe, who, if you haven't been to allphly.com to check out all of the great stuff that we put up on there. Kyle had something written for VJ Edgecombe, kind of like a getting to know. Here's about VJ Edgecombe, and I thought it was very well written, as usual with it. So he gives you an idea of what type of a player that you're getting, and we've talked about it. High motor player, immediate impact on defense. He fits well with Maxey or McCain. He actually sees himself as a point guard, and he's played off the ball. He's played on the ball. He's got good size, so he matches up well with McCain or Maxey. But like, he kind of sees himself as a point guard. He's not a great three-point shooter at this point. Now, remember, he's 19 years old, and I'll give you a comp, and it's not the best comp, but as far as his shooting, I remember when Kyle Lowry came out of Villanova, he played 1 year at Villanova, or did he play 2 years? I think he played 2 years. He came out after being a sophomore, and he couldn't shoot a lick, and that's the college three-pointer too. And he was legitimately, go back and look at the three-point percentages. I think he was like 20-some% shooting the three. But it didn't scare teams away because they saw the other things that were going to make them successful. And VJ Edgecombe, the limited amount of YouTube stuff that I've watched, but draft profiles, and I saw what Scott Drew, his head coach, said when he was on with Anthony a couple weeks ago, the same type of bulldog mentality, the same type of all about business, laser focused. The shooting will come. The three-point shooting will come. I like the fact that he isn't going to have to go out there and have diarrhea of the three-point shooting arm. They have plenty of guys that can shoot. He needs to develop, and I'm perfectly fine with that. So I am not worried one lickety-split a bit about him not being able to shoot threes, or like not being able to shoot threes. He's just not a great three-point shooter as of yet. He actually shot the ball better in the second half of the season than he did the first half of the season. This dude is super athletic. He likes to get to the rim. So I'm going to read you what Kyle wrote. It's up there right now on allphly.com. The public debate around Edgecombe has centered around fit, and many have labeled him as the safe or win now guy in comparison to someone like Ace Bailey. But I'm not sure I share that view, and I don't believe the Sixers drafted him under that banner. Taking Edgecombe with this high of a pick signals that there is belief within the organization that they can tap into Edgecombe's star potential and that they believe that he is worth potentially unsettling some players already in place, i.e., the two guards that are there. McCain looked great last year. Did you not draft a guard because of him? I don't think so. And I agree. I think this is a safer pick than Ace Bailey, but this isn't a safe pick. This isn't all right, his ceiling is maybe he's an all-star or he's an above average player. Don't look at it like this. Do not look at VJ Edgecombe like this. This kid has every intangible you're looking for as somebody that you can bring in and be a part of your new culture that you're trying to build. But the dude is tenacious on defense, and he is all about ball, 100% laser focused on playing basketball. More from Kyle. There will be a few skeptics of Edgecombe, the person, once people get to know him. He's earned A+++ reviews from every coach he has ever played for, noted as a leader of men, unafraid to challenge vets, and a player who matches the talk with sweat equity. Teammates have raved about his seriousness about improving his game and prepping for opponents, traits that have stood out in most of their recent successful draft picks. Edgecombe is as much a personality bet as a player bet, and the Sixers ultimately concluded that the best bet was on a superior athlete willing to extract every last drop of his natural gifts. Can't say I blame them. We'll see if it's the right bet in the end, but he looks like an ideal running mate for Tyrese Maxey, the defensive steal, and added size that they've been missing. If nothing else, Edgecombe adds some flash and fire on both ends of the floor. As far as 2025, he will be a guy that comes in and brings toughness, brings energy, and brings kind of an attitude to that second unit. I mean, I think he's going to be good right off the bat in his role. And this is when we're talking about what he brings to the team, all the things that were mentioned right there. And I heard Bob Myers talking about it last night. I was watching the ABC broadcast, and he was talking with some other players. He was talking about kind of setting a culture and what type of a player are you bringing in. And what you're bringing in is you're bringing in a kid that is just an unbelievable kind of, I'm ready to work. Let's go. I want to win. I watched in one of the interviews that he said last night. He said that he is a, where is it that I had it right here? He said that it's all about the team. And he said that he's someone that puts himself last, not first, last. So when he views himself as a natural point guard, like natural point guards, they're going to shoot, they're going to score. It's not 1980, it's not 1985, 1990, right? But he puts himself last. This is what the 76ers so desperately need. Of course, you need talent. Of course, you need guys that can play ball, all that stuff. In my opinion, there's a culture problem with the 76ers, and it starts with Joel Embiid. And we'll get more to Joel Embiid in a second. But I'm looking at this draft pick as, what do the Sixers have after Joel Embiid is gone? And you need guys that all they want is a championship. That's what they want. They want to get paid. They want to make their money. They want to be great individually. Sure, but they want to win championships. And you're getting a guy that's saying he puts himself last. And he has, when Kyle mentions sweat equity, yeah, he's willing to work for everything. He has a seriousness that like, you either have it or you don't, right? Like, as you develop as a professional, okay, like you're like, all right, you're watching from veterans, you're learning from veterans. This kid already has it, right? So extremely, really, really excited with VJ Edgecombe being drafted by the 76ers last night. All right, so let's play. What did I say? And Brent is with us this morning. What did I say I wanted to play first? All right, so here is did we say Daryl Morey first? So Daryl Morey spoke after last night, after the draft pick was made, and he spoke about why the Sixers selected VJ Edgecombe. Here it is.
I hate to invoke the word, but I mean we have a pretty detailed process here. And, I think it starts at the high school level and all the pre-work before in the years prior to their coming into college, with national teams, with everything. And that process continued through this year. No, I think we were seriously considering pretty much, early in the process it was about 6 and then it was down to 4. And then we were deliberating up until the last few days down to who we would pick. And as we dug in, we felt like VJ was by far the best choice.
There you go. I apologize for playing. He didn't say anything until the very end where he said they thought he was the right choice. Well, you drafted him, Daryl. But no, I didn't play that to want to kill Daryl. But it was the right move. It was the right choice. More on Ace Bailey coming up in a second. Here is VJ Edgecombe. If you're talking about a player that you want to root for, we're going to love him in this city. We love Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese has that $1 million smile. He's got that kind of youthful energy, nonstop energy. He's bouncing all over the place. But just the fact that he was comfortable and he called out Joel Embiid for being late to everything tells you, like, hey, I'm not afraid to say what I need to say, right? That's leadership. That's what you need when you're trying to build a championship team. Here is VJ Edgecombe. Pretty, like, everybody's got their story, and that's why I like watching all the drafts, because everybody's got their story. There were some good stories last night. Here's VJ Edgecombe after being drafted by the 76ers.
You said you saw the emotions on your mom's face. Yeah. What were the moments you remember most about just the way your mom poured into you throughout your life and your career?
Man, them long nights, I'm telling you, I lived off a generator. I ain't had no electricity. I lived off a generator for 7 years. Man, seeing what she had to go through to feed us, man, it's crazy. It's crazy, but I don't even know, man. My mind everywhere right now, man.
Man, like seeing the emotion from his mom, who could barely speak afterwards, and his brother, and right there, like, God, you just feel so good for the kid. You do. Born in the United States, born in Florida, raised in the Bahamas, and just a great, great story, but a great, great kid, which is really what talent is talent. And every team needs talent. You're not going to win anything. You can have the all nice guy team, and it doesn't mean anything. But God, that's a guy you want to root for. So it makes you feel good. This portion of the show brought to you by GLAT Hair Restoration, GLATHairMM.com, 610-980-4000, 610-980-4000. All right, and then the 5th pick comes, and the Jazz select Ace Bailey, forward, Rutgers. And I'm like, oh my God, my stomach dropped. And I'm kind of sitting there, and I'm like, I even tweeted it out, like, they're going to trade him, right? They're just Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge is the CEO of the Jazz. He swindled the 76ers before with the Jason Tatum trade, how they were able to get a draft pick because they knew Brian Colangelo wanted the Markelle Fultz and is a dummy. But like Danny Ainge is well known. He's one of the top executives in the NBA for a long time. He's trying to build it up in Utah. And my initial reaction is, well, they're going to trade him. He don't want to go to Utah. Everything I've heard is that he wants to be between Atlanta and New York, and he doesn't want to go to the Sixers. And it seemed like that the Wizards, he had him in the back pocket. Everybody said over the last couple days, the last week, he obviously has a guarantee from one of these teams, and it's his preferred destination of where he wants to go. So it felt like the feel was the Sixers weren't going to draft him. He might slide to 8 to Brooklyn, but the Wizards at 6 would probably be where he goes. And then that happens. So it's like, all right, they're not trading him. And then it's like, well, holy crap. Did we just get played? Did this whole thing about he wants to be on the East Coast and he wants this and he wants that, and Danny Ainge and Ace Bailey's agent and team were in cahoots? He's going to Utah? And then I'm thinking, like, well, Danny Ainge is like an unbelievable executive. And I'd much rather have him, even though the Jazz aren't any good, I'd much rather have him directing my franchise than maybe what's going on with the 76ers. So now I'm like, oh my God, like, this is the worst thing ever. I like VJ Edgecombe, but if Danny Ainge wants Ace Bailey and there was a plan and they were in cahoots, we're effed. Well, apparently that wasn't the case, because then this came out, Brent. If you want to put the graphic up there, He did not want to be drafted by the Utah Jazz. As your first inclination would be, why the hell would Ace Bailey want to go to Utah? He did not want to go there. But you know what happened? They drafted him anyway. Interesting decision by Danny Ainge. So where they were drafting, where they are as a team, making the decision of, hey, he may not want to come here. Danny, like, there have been no rumors or whispers that Danny Ainge and the Jazz were going to take him at all. None. That's why it was, when it happened, it was like, oh my God, I got played. But Danny Ainge more or less is like, I don't care if he didn't want to come here or he wouldn't work out for us or whatever. We're going to draft him anyway because we feel like he's the best player by far on the board. And he could be a franchise-changing player. He could be their one. He could be their franchise player. He could be their max player. He could be the guy that is the beginning of getting them to winning a championship. I don't believe that's going to happen, but he took a risk. And Danny Ainge has been doing this at a high level for a long enough time to where you have to look at what he did and say, like, all right, it definitely makes me feel a little bit different. If he goes to Washington at 6, like, good luck in Washington, Ace. Have fun winning 19 games next year and scoring 17 points a game and scoring 19 points a game the following year and getting a max contract because of your potential and never really doing much of anything, right? And then he goes to Utah, and it kind of changes the way you look at it because you have an executive that knows what the hell he's doing. To me, it's way, way too much of a risk because now the player is going to want to stay in Utah, and he's going to have to want to stay in Utah. And is it one of the things where he's pretty good and he signs a max contract and he decides after that he doesn't want to play in Utah? If they've made it pretty clear that they didn't want him to play anywhere but the East Coast because of the marketing and things like that, it's a pretty big risk to take a player. Now, at 3 for the Sixers, they wouldn't do it. 5 for the Jazz? Less of a risk, maybe. They still pass on some good players, but he fits into what they want on the floor. He fits into what they need, which is their future. And Danny Ainge may also look at it and say, well, like, I'm the culture. His son's running things now. Danny Ainge's son's running things now. Nepotism, Austin Ainge. But if he establishes the culture as an organization, then it's easier for things to trickle down, and that's the culture that you have. The Sixers don't have that. I'm not trying to take shots at Daryl Morey. Sixers don't have that. Joshua Harris, Daryl Morey, Joel Embiid, that's the culture of the 76ers that haven't gotten out of the second round. So let's talk about Joel Embiid for a second. So really, and like I have a Sixers hoodie on today. I have my Sixers hat on. I have this ugly hat. I don't even know where or when I got this, but Positive John, here I am. I don't like being the negative sports fan. I don't like being the negative guy in the media that always is Jalen Hurts. They're not good enough to win the Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts. He can't pass the ball well enough. I'll share my honest opinions when I have them, right? Which I do. But also, like, all else being equal, I don't get a rise out of that. I don't get a rise out of not liking Joel Embiid for years now. I don't get a rise out of just dreading this last year of Joel Embiid. And I think this is going to be his last year. I really, really don't. I would much rather be Positive John, which is how I felt after VJ Edgecombe. After I got over the Ace Bailey thing where I was like, oh my God, we got played. We got played by Danny Ainge again. Started feeling good again. Watched some YouTube, saw his interviews, feeling really, really good. And then Daryl Morey spoke about Joel Embiid. But if we have this, so here's after the draft pick was made, Daryl Morey was asked about Joel Embiid and his rehab. Here is Daryl Morey.
Medical update time. Yeah. Spoke to Joel today. He's very engaged, attacking rehab, doing everything he can to be out there. He had a meeting with Dr. Glashow this week. All things, to use the NASA term, nominal. Things are going well and expected, and we expect that to continue.
Ready for camp. Right.
Yeah, I mean things are on track to be ready right around there.
So, Positive John's still here. it's hard to go into a season when legitimately the season just ended for the NBA. The finals were just over a few days ago. To already go into an NBA season with the all season starting, kind of dreading it. So I'm going to have to get over that. That's a me problem. But it's a me problem because of the direction and the track record of the 76ers over the last however many years. So what I have to do is I have to convince myself that the focus needs to be, okay, let's look at the East and let's see who is that much better than the 76ers with the glass half full. The glass half full is Joel Embiid playing 60 games. The glass half full is Paul George, looking like the Paul George that the 76ers probably thought they were signing, not the Paul George we saw last year. The glass half full is Tyrese Maxey taking a step, and not taking a step back, but taking a step. And McCain coming back and being a contributor. And Grimes being re-signed and being a contributor. And being what we saw last year. And Edgecombe coming in and serving a role and inserting energy into this team. Because there is one thing, if I'm being honest, and this just isn't being positive, John. If I'm being honest, I do believe that Joel Embiid can put it together for 1 year. Now, can they put it together for 1 year where he's able to play enough games and be healthy enough in the playoffs to where they can win a series or two? Yeah, I do think that they can do that. The problem is, if they don't win a title or get to an NBA final next year, can they run it back and do it again with Joel Embiid? And I would say 2 years in a row to be able to do that, I don't want to say it's impossible. So you're really looking at next year as the window of opportunity if you can't get him healthy enough to where he is playing enough games to matter in the regular season and be healthy enough once the playoffs start. Then, this is it. You think he's going to do it 2 years in a row? Remember when Allen Iverson almost got traded, and he was an unbelievable talent just like Joel Embiid. He also played. That's the difference. The problem with Iverson was TGI Fridays, Houlihan's, Coronas, late nights. We talking about practice, but in the season they went to the finals, it was as focused as he had ever been in committing himself to winning. And then slowly but surely after that probably, it wasn't as committed. They didn't win. Things got off track. He got deeper into all the things that were going on in his life. With that, that's not Embiid here. It's the injury factor. Iverson still played. Embiid can't play. So if you expect him to do that year after year, and after the Sixers went to the finals with Allen Iverson, he still scored a lot of points. The Sixers still won some games. They weren't even close to getting back to another final. They were pretty much done-ski. So I hear Daryl Morey talk about Joel Embiid, and I go from being on this high of VJ Edgecombe and his mom and his brother, and he's talking about being in the Bahamas, living off a generator, and they had to just to survive, they had to do so much. And then it's like, I talked to Joel today, and he's attacking rehab, blah, blah, blah. But you know what, Daryl? This is the same dude that wasn't ready to go last year, and I gave him. I don't care. Joel Embiid played in the Olympics. I really, really don't. God bless you, man. You want to play for the Olympics, United States. You want to win a gold medal. You want to do all that. I supported him, and I'm still not going to rip him for not doing it. For doing it, right? Ultimately, it probably cost him last season. But I supported him in that decision. But the fact there was no information given, the fact that if you listen to some reports that he came back after the Olympic run and he was overweight and he was out of shape. And then Tyrese Maxey at the beginning of the season has to call him out at a team meeting and says he's late for everything. Out. My star player, my MVP is late for everything. What Allen Iverson didn't get when he said we talking about practice was, okay, you show up to games and you put up 35 points and you play your ass off and you leave everything on the court, right? What do you think your teammates think when they're showing up to practice every day and they're saying hey, listen, we got to grind. We got to do this. We got to do that. And Allen Iverson was out till 3 o'clock in the morning the night before. Allen Iverson's late to practice. Allen Iverson's not showing up to practice. What do you think they're saying? Not to him. What do you think they're saying as a group? What do you think they're saying behind his back? You know what they're saying. What do you think this team's saying about Joel Embiid behind his back if he's late to everything? Tyrese Maxey told you what they're saying. I'm not going to say that creates division. That makes them resent the player. And everybody knows how talented he is. But when you have a player of that size and that magnitude, and he's that talented, there's the Joel Embiid rules, and there's everybody else. And when you get treated differently, that's fine. But you also have to lead by example. And not being on time or being late to everything that you have to be called out, not being in physically in the best shape possible, not having the mentality that, hey, I want to win a championship. These are all things that a player does that ultimately doesn't care about winning, that's not their primary focus, and they don't know how to win. The only thing that you've seen from Joel Embiid so far is that he doesn't know a damn thing about winning, man. And he's been injured, and he's a great player and probably the most talented 76er that I've ever seen in my lifetime. And he's been a great player for the franchise. But if you don't want to win more than anything, and this is why I think VJ Edgecombe is such a great draft pick, if you don't want to win and you're willing to put in the work and the effort to be the guy, you're never going to win. And that's why I'm out on Joel Embiid. I hope they can all put it together this year. And I think in a one-year window, Positive John is going to ride that, at least for the time being. All right, we'll come back. More on the draft. We also had the Phillies losing last night, but an article in Fox Sports, on foxsports.com, doesn't paint a great picture of Kyle Schwarber being a certainty coming back for the Phillies next year. Dave Dombrowski had some very interesting comments. We'll play them, or not play them. I'll tell you what he said and what Kyle Schwarber said and much more right after this. More 76ers draft reaction as well. It's Philly with John Marks, PHLY. Back in 2 and 2. Don't go anywhere. All right, listen. It is a new sponsor to Philly with John Marks. Check out the website right now, artofwords.com. artofwords.com. So what is it? I was on it. I was looking this morning, on it right now. A picture's worth 1,000 words, and this is a local Philly artist. Each piece is made entirely from handwritten words, like every eagle forming the link and every Philly shaping Citizens Bank Park. And it's not sports. How about Boathouse Row, Reading Terminal, the Philly skyline, the Jersey Shore, and everything else when you think of Philly? He's got it. These unforgettable gifts for sports fans, grads, housewarmings, all the different holidays, any occasion are right there, artofwords.com. He started selling art in the K-Lot and Rice's Flea Market. I used to go to Rice's Flea Market in Bucks County when I was a kid. Used to buy the tapes, the bootleg tapes, where you would put it in on one side and it would actually be backwards. So if you wanted to listen to side A, you'd have to put in side B. Loved Rice's Flea Market. And there's really, really good stuff. All right. He's been featured on the Today Show, ESPN, and TED Talk. So again, check it out. Artofwords.com. Artofwords.com. Use the code PHLY. How about 15% at checkout? Code PHLY, artofwords.com. All right. What are we talking about? betPARX parlay of the day coming up later on in the program. But let's talk about betPARX. You can't blame me. I didn't feel great about this series against Houston. So don't blame me. I had it dead on with game one. Last night, I thought they'd score some runs. They didn't. Zach Wheeler looked great. But that's why you get to the betPARX app. So many different ways to win. You can do your parlays, right? You can do individual player performances, strikeouts, home runs. Like is a Schwarber due? He hasn't hit one in a little bit, right? You can do it all. You can do it all on the betPARX app. Soccer. You can do futures for pro basketball, for pro hockey. Do you like Philly's chance next year to win a title? How about for football? Check it all out. It's the only app I would ever use to bet on sports and to play all of my favorite casino games right in the palm of your hand. So right here on the betPARX app, you can bet on sports, but live dealer blackjack, roulette, craps, poker, baccarat, and so much more. Hot online slots. And check this out. How about great concerts? All right, July 3rd, Gary Clark Jr., UB40 in September. Are you kidding me? Do you know who they are? They covered Red, Red Wine. Red, Red Wine. And I can't help falling in love with you. Kansas coming in October. A ton of great stuff. How about Everclear coming in October? Bill Murray and his Blood Brothers as well in November. Tickets are at parxcasino.com. You also be 21. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. There you go. Hooah, we are back. Philly with John Marks. Did people enjoy my my singing, my UB40 singing? See, what people don't know is I am a big reggae and island music person. So UB40 is kind of one of the I don't want to say classic because they still put out new stuff, but outside of the hits that you may have heard, they have a lot of other good stuff out there. So I'm gonna have to go check them out because the Excite Center at betPARX is really, really cool. All right, so more on the draft last night, and I just some commentary on the actual product. And I saw Black Gritty tweeted this out, and he was so right. There's not enough time between picks. Like, here's how it should be set up. Think about the NFL draft. The NFL draft is king, and I think they go 10 minutes between picks, or is it even longer in the first round? So they make the select. This is how it should be. You make the selection, and you show them get up and hugging mom, and then you got a bro slap and hug 75 people, right? So it's like, pff, hug, pff, hug, pff, hug. Up, who's that white guy? That's his agent. Bro, hug, pff, hug, right? Make your way all the way up. And then the awkward bro hug with Adam Silver, who it was awkward. But so then you do all that, and then there's the picture where he has the hat or whatever. And then from there, you need the music to come in, and then I want to see a good 2-minute video of all of his highlights. The YouTube video that I've watched 350 times in the last 36 hours. I want to see all his highlights, and I want to hear Bob Myers or another analyst. And I watched the ABC broadcast, so I don't know what it looked like on ESPN. I want to see that. So I want to see like, boom, boom, highlight, highlight, highlight. This is what he is. This is what he is. He projects as a point guard. He can also play off guard. And then you come back, and if you want to, at that point, go to the produced video that they came up with each player, fine. And then you can do the player interviews, which, by the way, are pretty much god-awful almost all the time. But you do get good stuff from that. And then you have time to digest it and then look ahead to the next pick. With 5 minutes, you don't even get time to really adequately look at who was just drafted. It's one thing later on in the draft where I don't care, but especially in the top 15, it just deserves more time. And it really, really seemed rushed. And I didn't get, and it wasn't just with VJ Edgecombe, it was with all the players. I'm okay staying up until 11:30 or 12 o'clock. I'm okay with that. Boom, let's do it. Let's stay up late. Give us 10 minutes. Give us 7 or 7.5 minutes on a player, and then you can take a commercial break and then come back and preview the next draft pick and who they could draft coming up. And everything seemed very rushed to me last night. I was able to deal with Stephen A. Smith. Ultimately, I thought, and by the way, Kevin Nagandi, I thought did a really good job last night. What I didn't realize was, because I guess on SportsCenter, you don't get to hear him talk. I've never noticed the bad Philadelphia area accent that he has before last night. He's from Phoenixville. He actually grew up minutes from where I am, Phoenixville High School. But he's got that regional Philadelphia accent, which I thought was pretty unique. He was really good last night. Nagandi was really good. Bob Myers, who was the former executive with the Golden State Warriors. He ran the Warriors. He, according to a lot of people in the know, could be the next 76ers executive if things don't work out with Daryl Morey and they whack him. Bob Myers is very good on TV, and even with Stephen A. Smith. And I thought he was very, very good last night. And I would love to see him as doing as an executive with the 76ers, running the 76ers. You know what? Like, when I hear Daryl Morey talk, I just, like, I don't want to say I don't like him, but I don't like him. Maybe it's not fair to say I don't like him, but he's like very like, well, you know, like Bob Myers seems to have some emotional intelligence. And like with Jonesy, with Keith Jones. Keith Jones is so good at being likable and relatable and delivering a message that you want to hear, that you believe in. And for all the crap that Brett Brown got on his exit and probably like his last year, Brett Brown was really good in addressing fans and talking to fans and addressing the media. And I always respected him so much because he's such a likable guy. And if you've ever met Brett, and I'm not going to pretend that I know Brett very well, But in the 10 or 15 occasions that I got to spend time with him, he's a really, really, really good dude. I remember being in the Las Vegas Summer League when Ben Simmons played for the first time. And we went with the radio station, and we went to a practice. And it was in UNLV's campus, and we got to spend some time with the players. And I probably spent like a good hour with Brett's son, Charlie, who at the time couldn't have been more than 9 or 10 years old. And the kid was, he's obviously a good basketball player, but like he was a really, really good kid. And then talking to Brett afterwards, it's like, you know what? Like, you want to root for a guy like this? I don't want to root for Daryl Morey. He comes off to be as being condescending, and I know more than you, and I know about winning, and I know some. Remember a couple weeks ago he talked about how he knows a lot about winning. Yeah, I've known a lot about winning. Never been to a finals. Has had talented teams that have underachieved in the playoffs. I know a lot about winning. Bob Myers comes off as the exact opposite. So keep an eye on him. We have more of the draft coming up, and I'm not going to act like that I know a lot about some of the players in the second round of the draft. But the 76ers will be picking early. And the one name that I saw when I was reading everything this morning that a lot of people were surprised that did not get drafted was Rasheer Fleming out of St. Joe's. A lot of the draft Knicks had him as a first-round draft pick. He did not get picked. So the thought is that he's going to go early in the second round. The Sixers could use another big body. He's 6'9". He projects as kind of the power forward type or a small center in the league. Good rebounder, shoots the three a little bit. He progressed a lot at St. Joe's to where by the time he left after his junior year this year, people were like, all right, like this kid's an NBA player. So couple names to keep an eye on. It's so weird with the second round draft picks. A lot of times they sell the picks or they try to accumulate future picks depending on the roster, if they have room for them on the roster. So we'll see what happens with the 76ers tonight. A couple other notes here. We'll do Phillies in the last segment here. But a couple other notes here. So the Flyers draft is tomorrow night, and I'm working with Brenda today because Tyler's is working with Anthony. He's on Anthony's show today. But the Flyers, so we had a great draft party last night, 76ers draft party. So shout out to everybody that came. I saw that it maxed out. We had a limited amount of people they could put upstairs, and it was maxed. We hit the max contract, not the Philly max, but the real max. And just go to our social medias. You can see a lot of videos and stuff from last night. It was really cool. But the draft for the Flyers is tomorrow, and there's a big draft party going on down at Chickies and Pete's in South Philly. So it starts at 7 o'clock. Special guest Bernie Perrant. So you'll have the PHLY Flyers podcast. You'll have the Broad Street Hockey. You'll have all the Flyers fans. And you'll have Bernie Perrant, who might be one of the coolest guys ever. So if you're a Flyers fan and you've never been able to get a picture or an autograph or even just share a couple minutes with Bernie, I highly recommend it. He's about as good as it gets. So that's tomorrow down at Chickies and Pete's in South Philadelphia. It's going to be fun. So they go, here's the schedule. Tomorrow, day of the draft, they go noon, live show at noon for the Flyers guys, and then Chickies and Pete's at 7. And then I'm told a special Saturday broadcast at the Hard Rock Cafe at Atlantic City because that's where the Flyers are headquartered on Saturday for the draft. So the hope is that you may get a couple of the Flyers executives or who knows to come down and talk to the guys and gals. All right, so that's not a public show. So don't go down to the Hard Rock. Go down to the Hard Rock, but don't go down hoping that you're going to be able to take a picture with Bill Matz because he may charge you if you take a picture with him tomorrow. So that's that. The Sixers today, so they have a live show at 3 o'clock and then again at 8 as the draft gets underway for their second straight day. So they'll milk 2 nights out of the draft. The NBA. Also, right now, it's a great time to get in at PHLY. So go to allphly.com and upgrade your fandom. And now we have thousands and thousands of passionate Philadelphia sports fans that are getting premium content, perks, and more from all of our coverage, which is and I'm not blowing smoke, everybody. You look at what we're doing with the Sixers, with Kyle and Derek and Devon and Rich Hoffman Jr. that does such a great job in a variety of roles. Look at our Eagles coverage with Bo and with Zach Berman and with Fran and with everybody else. The Flyers, are you kidding me? Is there not a better writer in the city than Charlie O'Connor? And then you look at everybody else, the podcast. Bill Matz is as entertaining as anybody in Philadelphia media today. And then Tyler with the baseball podcast, PHLY Phillies. And how about Jim Salisbury and Bob Cooney writing on the Phillies? The premium content's unbelievable. And right now you're getting a deal. That's right. You're saving up to 55%. $36 for the first year. And that gets you a t-shirt. How much do t-shirts cost this day? It's like pretty much $36 right there. $36 for the first year. Allphly.com to get that. Allphly.com to get that. All right. I'm cooking. So let's do this. So the Phillies. betPARX Parlay of the Day coming up next. The Phillies. Kyle Schwarber and Dave Dombrowski both spoke to a reporter for FoxSports.com and spoke about Schwarber's pending free agency. And I'll just say that, Dombrowski is always pretty honest in what he says. And he's pretty honest in what he said about Kyle Schwarber. You got to hear what he says. That's coming up right after this. Philly with John Marks. PHLY. Why? Well, here's why. GLAT hair restoration. I got the hat on today. And frankly, and I know there's people out in the chat will be like, put your hat on forwards. You're not a kid. You're a grown-ass man. Oh, shut up. That's how I've always worn my hat. So what? When I'm 60 years old, I'll make sure I wear my hat on backwards. But I need a freshie. The hair is getting a little bit long. All right. So it's easier to wear a hat, but I'm going to try to get the freshie done at Razor Bar tomorrow. But it's such a good feeling when you get your hair cut and you love the way your hair looks. Because if you're out there and you don't like the way your hair looks, you're probably styling it differently. You're getting it cut differently because when you're thinning or you're receding, you have to change the way that you do things, right? I was doing the same thing, right? Then I went to GLAT hair restoration. And I remember when I went in for a consultation and they were explaining the procedure to me. And to keep it simple, and I'm a keep it simple, stupid person, it's like you get your hair back in a simple procedure done by the experts in the industry. You get your hair back. That's what I did. I was like, wow, you know what? I'm going to do this. And it's not often in life that you get things that exceed your expectations. It's totally exceeded my expectations. My hair looks great. If you go to GLATHairMM.com, GLAT hairmm.com. You can see before and after pictures. You can get a lot of great information. You can also text them or call them, 610-980-4000, 610-980-4000. Text them with information. And remember, it's not about just about hair restoration. It's about innovation. There's so many different things out there, and they're the experts at it, that can stop the thinning, that can stop the balding, that can help you regrow your hair. Vitamin supplementation, something called Alma-Ted that I get done yearly as maintenance. It really it's preparing the scalp to regrow your hair. It's stopping the thinning and the shedding. A lot of stuff out there. Get with them right now. GLATHairMM.com. That's GLAT hairMM.com. Empire Today. Why would you go to EmpireToday.com/PHLY? Well, you need new flooring. Why wouldn't you go to the big box store? You know where I'm talking about. So you go and you're like, all right, what aisle? All right, let's see. And then piles and piles fill the aisles. Never seen so many styles, but I don't know jack about flooring or whatever. I have questions. Where I can't find anybody. There's never enough people working here. They do so many different. Hey, can you help me? Let me get Lou over here. But Lou works in plumbing, so he knows a little bit about flooring, right? So then you have questions. You don't necessarily get your answers. And then you got to haul the stuff away. Then you got to find a contractor to install it. Don't do that. Empire Today, that's all they do. They live and they breathe flooring, right? So go to EmpireToday.com/PHLY. Schedule a free in-home estimate. When you get the expert, they come to your room, your showroom, right? You don't go to their showroom. You go to your showroom in your house, in your space, so you know what your new flooring is going to look like under your lights, with your color of paint on your wall, with your floor, with your furniture. That all matters. It can look different in a showroom with that lighting. They come to your home. They take precise measurements. Every question is asked and answered. and you can even schedule installation as soon as the next day. Clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing. That's why you go to Empire today. From the first time you contact them until the last time you need them, right? Who knows when that is? Through installation, they're with you every step of the way. You're not taking your floor's lives into your own hands. They're doing it for you, and you're saving money. Use the code PHLY to save $350. Restrictions apply. Go to EmpireToday.com/PHLY, EmpireToday.com/PHLY. Hoo-ah. All right, there we go. Philly with John Marks on PHLY. All right, let's, we might as well do it. I know Tyler's normally on fire with the betPARX parlay of the day, so I'm, and he hasn't texted me anything this morning because when he texts me, it's a lot of times when the show has already started. Let me see. No, he's not done it. All right, so let's do our betPARX parlay of the day. All right, I've been on the right side of the Phillies. Actually, that's not true. I took the Phillies money line last night. I didn't realize that they wouldn't score any runs. They didn't score any runs. Chris Sanchez today going for the Phils. We have Hunter Brown. Hunter Brown is one of the better pitchers in all of baseball. This is a tough one. I do not feel good about today's game, and I don't necessarily like to bet the Phillies to lose. So I'm not going to do that. Here's what I'm going to do. Total runs is over 7, under 7. I'm going to go under 7 runs, and then check this out. Because Kyle Schwarber hit a home run. Today is minus 715. So I'm going to parlay Kyle Schwarber home run and under, no, I'm doing plus 460, sorry. Plus 460, and the Phillies to go under 7 runs. That'd win you $1,300 for a $100 bet. So do this. Sprinkle a 10 spot, and if Schwarber hits a home run and they go under 7, you win $130. That's our betPARX parlay of the day, which segues us perfectly into Kyle Schwarber. But like it's so hard when I watch every Phillies game, and I don't treat them like the Eagles. If you watch every game, you won't make it through a full season if you treat it like the NFL. So you see the ebbs and flows, right? So they went 9-1, they went 1-9. They won 5 straight games. Now they've lost 2 straight games against the Astros, and they're looking down the barrel of a sweep today. No one's hitting. It's just it's terrible. When they are getting guys on base, they're stranding them. Houston starter last night is not a tremendous starter. He was not very good. He's not very good. He was last night. Zach Wheeler, they wasted another excellent outing from Zach Wheeler. Strom gave up a home run in the 9th inning or the 8th inning, but they lose 2-0. So that's 2 straight games that they haven't scored a run. And this is the longest run drought they've went since 2022. So we're going on 3 years of it. So like you can't get too crazy with where this team is. I mean, I think the bottom line is, and then we'll pivot to Schwarber here, is that I know Bryce Harper is out. I'm never going to use Bryce Harper being out as an excuse to be like, oh, well, Bryce Harper's out, so of course this offense is going to struggle. No, I'm sorry, no. They have more than a couple of highly paid all-star caliber players that need to be hitting. And over the course of a season, you're going to go through ruts like this. But it has become pretty clear to me, and I don't think that they're going to be able to get it done, but they really need another bopper in this lineup. They need some guy with power. Because look at their lineup right now. You have Kyle Schwarber, and then their next best home run hitter is still Bryce Harper. He's 9 home runs. Like we're getting near the All-Star break here, ladies and gentlemen. So you don't have guys that are on pace to hit 20 home runs other than Kyle Schwarber. You need some more power in this lineup. Again, I don't know where that's coming from, and I don't know how you're getting it or where you're getting it. And right now, all the insiders like Bob Nightingale and John Heyman and all the other Fugazi guys out there, what they do is they see here are the players that will likely be available at the trade deadline, and here are the potential fits. So it's like, yeah, every center fielder is going to be a potential fit with the Phillies because they see that they probably need a new center fielder. And I don't want Luis Robert Jr. at all. At all. I said it last year. I'll say it now. He's hitting under 180. But, yeah, like they're going to need some help in the lineup. And, yeah, Dave Dombrowski, I think, is a very good GM. He has his flaws. He's made plenty of mistakes. But, like, he needs the hit. He has not done a great job at the trade deadline. Just hasn't. He needs the hit this year. If you remember Pat Gillick made some mistakes. Signed him at Adam Eaton, gave Jeff Jenkins more money than he should have to be the right fielder, but he canceled them out with a great contract for Jason Worth. He was able to make good trades for Jamie Moyer and Joe Blanton and things like that. So that kind of canceled those things out. He also made really, really good under-the-radar type moves. Matt Stairs, a pinch hitter. Impact. He finished off his team. Dave Dombrowski hasn't done that. So I'm sure we'll talk a lot about the trade deadline coming up. But what about Kyle Schwarber? All right. So FoxSports.com, the writer there did when they were in, or I guess it was against the Mets. So she spoke to him over the weekend. And Kyle Schwarber is a free agent after this season. I think that's been well documented. I have been on record as saying that I can't imagine this Phillies team going forward without Kyle Schwarber, right? Like Alec Boehm, like players like that. No, like you can move on from guys. You can move on from players even if it hurts. Like, for example, could I envision the Phillies without JT Realmuto? Yes, I could actually. Do I think that's going to happen? Not necessarily. But like the Phillies would be okay without JT Realmuto. They need to sign somebody, but I couldn't picture the Phillies next year and going forward without Kyle Schwarber. Perhaps the problem is he going to outprice what the Phillies are willing to spend for him? If you remember back in spring training, there was some dialogue, there was some contract extension negotiations, and according to all reports that I've seen, it ended with the initial proposal. Phillies proposed what they wanted to, what they put out there, and it was quickly turned down. And that's the last they had the conversation. So what does that tell you? It tells you that they were pretty far apart in what they were willing to commit to at that point, right? So Kyle Schwarber comes out. He has 24 home runs. He's had between him, Aaron Judge, and Shohei Ohtani, has had the most home runs over the course of the last couple of years in all of baseball. He's productive again this year. He sees a lot of pitches, the clubhouse leadership, blah, 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 blah. We know. He's 32. You know, like, can Kyle Schwarber continue to produce at this rate over the next 3 or 4 years? I absolutely believe that. It's a matter of how much are the Phillies willing to pay him. Here's Dave Dombrowski. Of course, you don't want to lose a Kyle Schwarber. He's a unique talent, and he's a quality individual. We don't want to lose him, but I think your responsibility as someone that's in my job is to make your club better in other ways. I've lost free agent players in the past that we've gone out and been able to do things. Again, not that you want to lose him, but I don't think it's the end of any window or anything. He goes on. The Philadelphia Phillies were in good shape for years to come. That's one of the responsibilities that you have to try to do, if you can, is to stay in contention despite some players becoming free agents. We have an owner that's very generous with us. We have a hefty payroll in that regard. So even if we lose guys, we normally have the capability to sign somebody else. Let me see some comments on that Dave Dombrowski quote right there. Yeah, that's a guy that is being honest and is saying that we're not going to match the largest offer. If there's a team out there that is going to pay him 4 years and $40 million a year, we're probably not going to re-sign him. If someone's going to give him $180 million, we're probably not going to re-sign him. People agree with those quotes? He's talking about how you don't want to lose any players, but ultimately that's something that you may have to do. And he's right. He's right. The Phillies really haven't make a lot of tough decisions in letting guys go. Aaron Nola would have been a really difficult decision because he was drafted by the team and because they'd been to a World Series and he was a first-round pick and he's probably the second best draft pick or first best draft pick as a starting pitcher that this organization has ever had. So there's equity to that, right? That means something to a lot of teams. But they signed him. They signed him to a long-term contract and gave him a lot of money, and that's proving to probably be the wrong move. I don't think signing Kyle Schwarber to a big money contract is a wrong move. But if Dave Dombrowski says, all right, let me look at this. No, I got holes to fill. I need a back-end bullpen player. I'm paying Aaron Nola $25 million. So we're going to have to let Ranger Suarez go as well. Right? Like, look at this lineup. I think that this lineup is stale, and I would like to see some changes, and I think they agreed with that as well last year. They tried to move some parts, and they brought in Kepler, and that has not worked out. But like, ultimately, they may let Kyle Schwarber leave. I mean, that's everything Dave Dombrowski's saying right there. Here's Kyle Schwarber on it. I know from our side that as soon as the season's over, whenever the time is appropriate, some sort of conversation will be had. I got a lot of respect for the Phillies organization and obviously for the players here and the management and things like that. They've done a lot for me. And that's why I don't think that it's just going to be a goodbye, right? There will be some sort of conversation. There'll be some sort of conversation. What the hell does that mean? There'll be some sort of conversation. What are we talking about? Yeah, I hope there's going to be some sort of a conversation. But doesn't it seem like when you read those last lines, they've done a lot for me, and that's why I don't think that it's just going to be a goodbye, right? There'll be some sort of conversation. Boy, it sure seems like that there's a wide divide in what the Phillies were willing to pay him and what Kyle Schwarber is asking for. And really what the market is going to give Kyle Schwarber, because that's really what it matters. Maybe the Phillies offered him $30 million a year for 3 years. $90 million. Maybe they'd offer him $100 million for 3 years. And Schwarber's like, 3 years? I want 5 years. Maybe the Phillies are willing to go 4. Maybe there's teams that are willing to go 5. And Schwarber says, you know what? I'd rather stay in Philly for 4 and a little bit more money per year than go 5. Who knows? The market is going to determine whether Kyle Schwarber is going to be back. That did not happen with Aaron Nola. The Phillies decided that they were not going to lose Aaron Nola to Atlanta. They did. They paid top of market money for Aaron Nola. And it doesn't seem like, to me, unless John Middleton gets involved, which he very well could, he did. I believe he did it with Aaron Nola, that Kyle Schwarber could be gone. And right now, if you look at this team, unless you're making other significant moves in the offseason, I don't know how you sell this to a fan base that if you don't win a World Series or at least get back to a World Series, that the fans are going to be feeling all that good about the direction of this team. Details matter, right? The way that they've lost the last 2 years has really sucked. But, we have not felt good the last 2 years with this team. And if you're feeling like that after this year and Schwarber leaves, good luck. Because there's one thing that you can count on with Kyle Schwarber is his production. Bryce Harper's been injured. I love Bryce. Bryce is one of my favorite all-time athletes in Philadelphia. Love him. Love the dude. He's awesome. His availability is starting to become a problem. The production on this team offensively has been Kyle Schwarber. So DH and no DH, the Phillies, are they going to value him as much as other teams, other veteran teams, guys that feel like, hey, we're right there. We need a veteran guy. We need a guy that's going to come in for 4 years, and maybe by the 4th year, he's not as good as we want him to be. But he could be the missing piece to our team. And if I was running just the Yankees or maybe the Red Sox would bring him back because they're trying to get Kyle Schwarber is a very attractive piece in free agency. And it just feels like right now the Phillies are going to have to be okay with losing him if the price becomes too much. All right, if you're watching on TV, slide on over to allphly.com because we're officially in overtime. Hooah. There we go. Tonight, so remember, we have the 76ers show at 3, recapping the draft. If you didn't see the draft from last night, if you didn't see the coverage from last night, you're watching right now, check it out. Guys did a great job. It was really, really good. So back tonight for the second round. Anthony is live. You got to see what his reaction is to everything. Tyler's on the show today as well. So a lot to get to with Anthony. So click on over to him. Brennick, great job today. Thank you very much. We're back tomorrow live at 8 a.m. and we'll talk to you then. See ya.